Mark Kabolia of The Athletic, who we have now talked about for 2 episodes in a row, shout out Kaboom, believes that the Steelers will focus on Mason Rudolph being the backup this season, not Kenny Pickett, alluding to a Kenny Pickett redshirt season. Just to read you right from his mailbag here, check that out on The Athletic. They can save $3 million and potentially get a draft choice if they trade him. But is it worth more than the peace of mind that 2019, when they were starting Duck Hodges and trying to sign Landry Jones off an XFL team he had yet to play for, doesn't happen again? Now it would be worth it if you aren't redshirting Pickett and you can get a 5th-round pick. I can see Rudolph being the number 2 on game day and Pickett being more of a long-term guy if Trubisky gets hurt. So let me ask you this. I don't really care who anybody believes could be the backup. Is it a good idea for the Steelers to let Mason Rudolph be the backup quarterback this season?
I think there's 2 schools of thought. I think you look at Mason's experience with the team and you see a rookie quarterback who you certainly want to try to develop into a potential franchise guy and mold him and stuff. And I know there's also kind of different ways of thinking on how you should do that whenever it comes to kind of preparing Kenny Pickett for the future. Mason Rudolph as a backup has always been the Steelers' preferred plan. Not specifically this year, just in general, since he got there and they kind of realized that maybe all the pieces to the puzzle weren't exactly popping with that. It's so easy to like Mason Rudolph as a backup quarterback because he's only a backup quarterback until you need him not to be. It's very easy to be confident when your chips are not in the middle of the table with Mason Rudolph playing quarterback for you. So I understand the appeal for him. I think at this point in time, and we'll get into this in a little bit, it's Mitch's job to lose, right? Like there's no serious threat of Mason Rudolph starting this year. We seem to think Kenny Pickett probably has a shot at that, but we'll talk about that here in a moment. Mason Rudolph is a backup. I don't hate it. I really don't. But on the other side of the coin, for the second argument, you drafted Kenny Pickett in the first round, my man. Mike Tomlin giggled like a schoolgirl to the phone to call Kenny Pickett, to welcome him to the Pittsburgh Steelers. More than anything, the one hammering point people love to bring up with Kenny Pickett was that he was the most pro-ready quarterback right now. If you needed to play a football game tomorrow, Kenny Pickett is the first quarterback off of the board.
Yep.
If that's the case, what's the problem with him at worst being a number 2 quarterback?
I don't see one. So Kenny Pickett right now is taking 3rd-string reps, okay? Mm-hmm. And we talked about this on Tuesday. Kenny Pickett is a 3rd-string quarterback because he hasn't proven to be anything more than a 3rd-string quarterback. And maybe he doesn't prove to be a starting quarterback this season. Okay? What are you doing if Mitchell Trubisky goes down? What's just Kaboli's argument here? If Trubisky goes down, you want Mason Rudolph out there. Do you remember 2019 what the biggest excuse was of why the Pittsburgh Steelers couldn't get a flow going on offense with Mason Rudolph? It's because it was Ben Roethlisberger's offense, and the game plan was built for Ben Roethlisberger. And you don't adjust an entire offense in the middle of the season. Do I believe that that's true? No, I believe that you adjust any chance you get. But the Steelers' offensive coordinators aren't really the greatest. If Mitchell Trubisky goes down, you're telling me that same excuse won't be there for Mason Rudolph? Because if I'm looking at the Steelers quarterback room and I'm saying, okay, Mitchell just got hurt. We need a quarterback emergency right now, moving on for the rest of the season. Mason's got the veteran experience. Kenny's a risk. Is changing an entire offense a bigger upside or a bigger risk to take than putting a first-round quarterback that you expect to be the future franchise quarterback of your team in and not having to change anything. Because Kenny Pickett and Mitchell Trubisky are essentially the same guy. They have essentially the same skill set. So you don't have to change a single thing if Kenny Pickett goes in there over Mason Rudolph. I get the veteran stuff. Like, I agree with you on all that. And every point you made is 100% correct. On Kaboli's end, it doesn't make any sense to me to worry about 2019 and then put yourself in 2019 once again with a different spin on it. That's how I'd look at that.
Not for sure. And to point out Dustin's comment in the chat right now, I do think all of this will be kind of sorted out in due time, preseason and training camp and all the opportunities that they will get. I fully expect Kenny Pickett to be the second best quarterback on the roster. I don't think that's kind of the question right now. I think it just all boils down to what the Steelers want to do. Like, if they are very intent on letting Kenny Pickett sit for a year and develop and like truly get his feet settled before he's thrown to the wolves, I can appreciate that 1,000%. And from that aspect, it does make sense, sure, to have him as a third string quarterback. I also get the veteran thing, like we've already kind of touched on with Mason. Like, if you need someone to go on there and someone who has handled an NFL offense before, Dave's seen a lot of stuff. I don't think Kenny Pickett is very accustomed to looking at a lot of the foreign stuff NFL defensive coordinators, are able to bring to the table. And in due time, he'll begin to kind of learn and be able to see through all of that stuff. The argument with Mason and for him being the number 2 guy is that at least he has seen that stuff, like talent aside. Like, he has the experience. He's been in the mud before. You know for sure that he at least knows how to handle X, Y, and Z scenario, whereas Kenny Pickett's kind of like a question mark. That's really the only reasoning I can see why Kenny Pickett wouldn't be the number 2 guy. And look, I get it. I fully get it if that's Pittsburgh's plan. But if he's the most pro-rated quarterback coming out of the draft and you really liked him.
Thank you. Is he the most pro-ready? All you heard the whole draft process is how pro-ready Kenny Pickett is. How pro-ready Kenny Pickett is. Kenny Pickett, man, he's pro-ready. All of a sudden, he's not more pro-ready than Mason Rudolph? Mason Rudolph's after in year 5 has not earned a starting job, and I understand that it's behind Ben Roethlisberger, but if he earned the starting job, the Steelers wouldn't have signed Mitchell Trubisky. They would have drafted Kenny Pickett, I believe that, but they wouldn't have signed Mitchell Trubisky. They did so because Mason Rudolph is not the future of the Pittsburgh Steelers. It doesn't make sense to me, and this is a great comment here. What's the fascination with Rudolph? He doesn't have a future long-term with this team anyways. It's exactly true. The Steelers have no intentions of making Mason Rudolph the future of this team. They have never showed that they have intentions of making Mason Rudolph the future of this team. So at some point, we got to just stop talking about it, and the Pittsburgh Steelers have to make it clear, sorry, Mason, you're not the future of this team. It just is what it is. It just is what it is. Do you think, and like we both know, we've been at practices, at NFL practices, we understand the development of quarterbacks, but not only the development of quarterbacks, but how a quarterback rotation operates during the season. The backups, if you have a veteran, at least like Ben, you would have had a situation where he takes a day off, Mason would have got the starting reps. Yeah. The third stringer and the backup, the guy who's taking most of the practice reps, throwing awful passes. They're not throwing real passes. The offensive coordinator is saying, hey, man, go throw it on an interception. Go throw it over there, see if guys react. Do you think that is worth Pickett taking a redshirt year instead of actually having an opportunity to be the number 2, sit next to Matt Canada and Mike Sullivan on the sideline with a headset and talk to these guys?
See, I don't put a lot of stock into him if he's not going to play, whether he's like number 2 or number 3. Because like regardless, wherever he sits in the pecking order, the hope is for him, if you do want him to sit a year, that he's not going to play, that Mitch Trubisky is going to start all 17 games, hopefully more, wink. And he's able to kind of learn from there. He's able to take things in from the sideline, and like you said, able to digest everything from Coach Canada, Coach Tomlin, everything else kind of involved in the offense. So if he's sitting, I don't truly care whether he's number 2 or number 3. But if you're going to commit long term to a guy like Kenny Pickett, I get giving him the redshirt year. I 100% get it. And especially with him being a first-round pick and you looking for your next franchise quarterback after Big Ben just retired, like that's a lot of pressure to go and kind of pick up the pieces right there. So I get it. But, I mean, the Steelers have continually built their roster to put themselves in the best position to win football games. If you didn't think Kenny Pickett couldn't win you football games this year, why did you take him at number 20?
Exactly.